Yo, what's up, boys? So we're just gonna continue the video here. I got like 3 hours of a drive. What else am I supposed to do, right? Love talking to you guys. So we want to talk about my college experience. Was it even worth doing what I did? Was it worth $100,000? Probably more than that, honestly. And we're gonna start from the beginning. Okay, so it's important to know that right after high school, I went straight into college. Okay, so I graduated, I had a little vacation in Washington State, and then a couple months later, I went straight into college, and we're gonna start from there. So I was 18 years old. This was back in 2014. I just graduated college. I keep saying that. Just graduated high school, and it's funny, I like walked across the stage, got the diploma and everything, and I was like, in my mind, I was like, I'm done. This is awesome. I'm done with school. And then by the time I got back to my seat, I'm like, oh wait, this is just the beginning. And but it was a great moment to be done with high school once and for all. So that was awesome. Then we went off to a trip. It was funny. I saw one of my high school teachers in the airport in Oregon, which I was like, that's interesting. Like, what are you doing on my airplane? But small world. And then I went into the Air Force ROTC, Reserve Officer Training Corps, and then we went into boot camp for about a month, and that was easy. I was able to do that pretty standard. It was not an issue. Once engineering started, okay, because that was my major, and they lied to me. They said, oh yeah, you're gonna have mechanical engineering. Next thing you know, they're telling me that I actually didn't get engineering, and then I'm in like this general thing. I was like, guys, this isn't what I signed up for. And so I felt like bamboozled. So basically, you had to prove to yourself, or prove to them over the first semester that you're smart enough to make it or whatever. And I think it was a new program they were implementing because too many people were failing out, or they just, oh yeah, I want to be an engineer, and then they like just leave. So we're trying to weed out people from the very beginning. I mean, there were people literally telling me that the person on your left and right, okay, left and right, won't be there when you graduate. And so what does that mean? That's like that 33% graduation rate among all engineers. I was like, whoa, that's interesting. But that didn't stop me. People would ask me when I was a freshman, oh yeah, what are you studying? And I'm like, engineering. I'm like, oh, that's a hard one. Yeah, because I go to college not to waste my time on nonsense degrees. And you guys shouldn't either. I mean, look, it's always good to do what you enjoy doing, but you gotta also think about the money aspect as well and quality of life. So all those things are kind of important when deciding what you're going to do. But anyway, so I was in the Air Force RTC, and for the first month it was fine. I was able to do all the stuff they wanted, and then it turned into, oh, not only is it going to be 28 hours a week just for our stuff, but it's going to be an additional, like, I don't even know how many hours of like just studying and everything else for all the engineering classes. And oh, by the way, you can't use a bike to get anywhere on campus. The campus is massive. And you gotta walk everywhere in dress shoes. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And like every single like other officer that you saw, because we were just playing military there, you gotta like say hi to, and it's like, guys, I gotta get to class. And so in order to get out of it, you had to take your hat off and run down the strip. I mean, can we get any dumber, really? And it was just one of the most funniest things. Ended up getting out of that because they weren't going to pay for my college, and they also weren't going to give me a pilot slot. So I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm just wasting my time. So ended up getting out of that, and then pursuing engineering full time. Now keep in mind, to get out of the RTC, they wanted like 11 signatures. They wanted to make it as difficult as possible so that you had to stay. and that you felt like you were letting your friends down. And I was like, look, man, I know these people for like a month. They're not like long-term friends. They're just acquaintances right now. We're all going through this together. In fact, they probably want to leave just as much. And after that, it was over. So that was like my first half of freshman year. Then I moved into this like closet, basically, because they didn't have any housing for me anywhere. And actually, keep in mind, I was on campus for all 5 years. So I didn't really have an apartment or anything. And honestly, I was kind of nice. It was really nice because I had morning classes. I was like 8 a.m.s. I'm like, we need to get the day going, you know. And this goes back to my scheduling videos where it's like, this is how I like knocked everything out and was like super productive. If I had like, oh, let's start class at like 11:30, have lunch, dink around, do nothing. It's like, that's like wasting a lot of time, and that's not really the best use of anybody's time, really. And so I was like, okay, 8 a.m.s, I'm staying on campus. You know, I had like random roommates, you know, and it was fine. But then at one point, I was like, okay, I'll just be an RA. So I was a resident advisor. Okay, I was overlooking a lot of the logistical stuff for the dorms and everything. And then, so I was getting paid, and I had free housing. So that was really nice. But yeah, I remember doing the interview for that, and I didn't get it the first time. And that's just the way it is. Like, a lot of times, guys, we're not going to get what we want the first time. So we got to keep pushing ourselves again and be courageous to get that again. Okay? That's just the way it is. You know, it's like, how bad do you want it, I guess, is a better way of looking at it. Let's see. So then I like moved around a couple of times during freshman year. And then I distinctly remember, I was like, I'm getting really bad grades. Sorry, I'm like biting my tongue. I like bit my tongue the other night, and it's like been hurting and like swelled up like back here. I remember like getting like bad grades in like physics. I got a 28 on a test for physics class. And you tell me if that doesn't like destroy your confidence in like, should I be here? What am I doing? I'm spending all this money. I'm like failing out. Like, what's going on? And it was not one of the brightest moments. Chemistry was going down. Like, everything was getting tough. I'm like, do I just not know how to study? Like, what's going on here? And I think one of the biggest things I learned was you got to study with people. At least I did, because you got to understand what you're doing, and then you can kind of go back and review things on your own before the test. Because for me, it was like, I don't even know the first step of what I'm doing here. And I didn't always have time to go to office hours because the teachers were busy. You know, and there was always 100 people in that classroom, you know, asking questions. And it's like, look, I don't have time for that. You know, you still had to eat and everything else. And if I had had an apartment during this time, I don't think I would have been as successful, because I would have been off campus, having to drive in, you know, cook up food. And don't even mention the fact that I didn't even go to the gym basically ever. It was like on a Saturday I would go run for like 2 miles and practice my social skills, because I'd go and like give like girls high fives on the track, be like, hey, what's your name, you know, that kind of stuff. Just trying to do a little bit of everything and trying to do everything at once, you know. And I think it really did help. But yeah, that first year I was like, am I even gonna like make a good enough GPA to be able to get into the program I want or not? And sure enough, I was able to get to mechanical engineering, so that was great. And then after that, it was sophomore year, junior year, it was just more grind. It was literally, hey, we're gonna try to weed y'all out. We're gonna try to make sure that you fail. That's literally the attitude I felt toward it, because what they would present was not what was on the test, and it was not what was on the quiz. And it was like the most frustrating thing, because it's like, guys, I can do every practice problem, and not a single one is going to look anything like the test. So why am I even bothering? And that's literally kind of the attitude I felt toward it. And I tell you what, by the time I was a senior, I had the biggest senioritis ever. I was like, man, I am so done with this thing. There was a class I had to take 3 times because the first time I got out of it because I thought I was going to fail it. And then the second time I did fail it. And you need like a C. And so I had to take it a 3rd time, and then I got a B. It's like, how does that work? And so for me, I would always blame the professors because the professors are the ones who made the tests. You know, and people would go to other professors to like learn the material, the ones that were better or whatnot, and it all depended on when you got your schedule and when you would basically, you know, put, like, you had your time schedule and be like, okay, at 5 a.m. you're going to be able to pick your classes. And it was basically done on like how many years do you have? How many hours do you have? Then the earlier you could do your schedule and the better professors you could get. Kind of like the idea of like the richer get richer, right? I was like, okay. But yeah, I always wanted to blame the professors because it was like, how is it that I like get a D and then all of a sudden I get a B? It's not like I instantly became Einstein overnight and grew the hair and everything. Like that's not what happened here. But I remember, bro, like that is like confidence destroying energy when you see that your test has like you got a 50, you know, or you got a 28 on a test. Get this, on that physics class, right? The one that I got like a 28 on. Well, guess what? They ended up replacing that test score with your final and ended up getting an A on the final somehow, and then replaced that other number and they ended up getting a B in the class. It's like, how does that happen? And so I guess in my experience anything can happen, but at the same time, like, it was just nuts because I thought for sure I was gonna like fail out on that. And then lo and behold, I was able to pull it all together and get through it all. And I am no genius, guys. If I can do it, anybody can do it. It's just a matter of putting your mind to it and honestly, like, ditching the friends. Yeah, like I had a few friends in college. Like I didn't have a massive amount of people that I had to go hang out with and, you know, all this stuff. And I think that's what kept me in line because, you know, and they always stress the extracurricular activities. I mean, yeah, to a point, but at the same time, like, you need to have some balance. But if you have too much of that and not enough study, and you're in like a really difficult major, you're gonna fail. This is what happened to my sister, right? Too much partying, and then ended up having to get out. And colleges bank on that, bro. If I was a university, I would be like, absolutely. Let's make sure that we can distract them in so many ways possible that they are forced to get out. You know, that they're not going to make it. But we're still going to take their money legally. And so, man, when I saw that college was a scam in that way, I was like, wow, this is crazy. I'm just glad I got my degree. So if you're going to go to college, you better finish your degree. You better finish. Otherwise, they're taking advantage of you. And there's nothing you can do about it. So, if you're a young guy watching this, before you even think about going to college, think about what it is you want to do. And then go from there. You know, a lot of people want to be, I want to be a YouTuber, or I want to do this and that. Cool. Do that on the side, but you need to have an actual job that's paying you for your time. What's the difference between, like, okay, I was doing a job that was like in the trenches, right? I was getting paid $16 an hour. I do a job now that pays me $50 an hour, but it's the same time, and I'm doing less work. How does that work? Because of your education. Okay, it's what you can do. It's what you went through. And so I implore you to pick a major that is going to be worth your time and worthwhile. Otherwise, you're just going to be kind of wandering around aimlessly. Because, well, you didn't really know what you wanted to do in college. So, you wanted to party. You wanted to get away from mom. And, you ended up not getting the job you wanted. And now you just don't know what to do with your life no more. And the fact that so many layoffs are going on right now, you gotta watch your every back. If you don't watch your back, nobody else will. So that's kind of what I feel about it. And then during this time, I did my pilot training as well. So that was a 3-year process from 2016 through 2019. And everything lined up, like the stars lined up. I graduated, I got my pilot's license, and then I got my job, which needed both of them. I needed to be an engineer and a pilot. And here we are. So this is the way it is. And I'm super grateful for it. I'm so happy I didn't quit. There were so many days that I was just like, I just want to go fly. I just want to forget this engineering stuff. Like, this isn't for me. And when you see bad test grades, you're like, because most people want to hit A's, right? And there was some girl in our class who was really upset that she couldn't get A's, because she knew that C's get degrees, but they don't get jobs. But I mean, my GPA wasn't really high, guys, and I still managed to get it all done. GPA is just a measure of how you did in your class, but it doesn't really measure who you are as a person and your study ethic. And to me, I think that's where the interview comes into play, because then you can really expand on that and who you are as a person and just the way you operate. And people don't want, employers don't want people who are late, right? It's just the way it is. But we're going to talk about that in the next video right now, moving forward, because we're getting already 17 minutes of me just ranting. But, yeah, boys. Christmas Eve. Tomorrow's Christmas. Hope you have a good holiday, and see you in the next one. A world full of fakeness and deception. Keep downloading your realities.